I bid you a good morning. Thank you for joining us. It's 3 minutes past 8 o'clock this Tuesday morning on the Integrity Station, Splash 106.7 FM. And we have on the agenda for this morning, as usual, every weekdays, Panorama, where we begin with our issue of the day right about now, and then segue to newspaper review, newspaper analysis from 9 to 10 a.m. This you know if you listen to us every weekday. But hey, if you're a newcomer around these parts, well, just listen and you find out what it is that everyone who listens to Panorama gets from it, and the reason why they tune in, day out, Mondays to Fridays, to listen to us. My name is Lola Meduteni. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Thank you so much for being a part of the program this morning. We do sincerely appreciate you. It's time to take you through another issue of the day. We'll do this together with our guests. And of course, you know that you can get across to us via several channels. We have WhatsApp, Facebook, where we are currently streaming live at the moment. At any point during the conversation, you can drop a comment on the live feed there. We'll set up Twitter Space in a bit as well. And of course, Twitter as well is also another avenue where you can get across to us.
That's right.
Once again, my name is Boyega Olani.
The handle for Facebook is Splash FM 106.7. For Twitter, it's at Splash FM 1067. The hashtag as you tweet is Panorama on Splash. Panorama on Splash. That's the hashtag as you tweet at us. For WhatsApp is 0817-555-1067. All right, let's get on with our issue of the day then. What does the education sector in Nigeria need? Is it a larger share of the budgetary allocation? Is it more universities? Is it funding for the existing universities? Is it free basic education? Or is it all of them? Whatever the answer to that is, it belies the fact that the educational infrastructure as it currently exists in Nigeria is seriously ailing. From the estimated 10 million out-of-school children to the preponderance of private primary and secondary schools, with scant attention paid to their quality and regulation, to the myriad challenges the public institutions of higher learning face. The evidence is indisputable.
On Monday, 14th February, the Academic Staff Union of Universities also declared a 1-month warning strike that has since metamorphosed into a 3-month strike. Its non-academic counterparts, the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, and Non-Academic Staff Union of Allied and Educational Institutions, NASU, followed suit this Monday with a 2-week warning strike.
Education is perhaps the most important asset of any nation, a rewarding tool for national development, and it is generally regarded as the most sustainable way to reduce poverty and create shared prosperity. It can help to boost the economy, build the social values of individuals, and achieve better governance in a country. The federal government itself is aware of this, as the president was days ago, quoted blaming the crisis in Nigeria on ignorance and lack of proper education, saying the problem can only be addressed through the provision of proper education.
Today, we look at the plethora of issues bedeviling the education sector, particularly higher education in Nigeria.
And we have joining us engineer Abiodun Fijabi. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Lola, and good morning to you, Lani.
Thank you very much for joining us.
All right. In our opener, we said, we tried to list out a number of reasons that could be or causes for the problems ailing the education sector in Nigeria. But what do you surmise is the reason that the education sector in Nigeria is somewhat moribund?
Yeah, I think, thank you. I think we need to, first of all, understand the value that education brings to the table in personal, family, societal development and growth. Once that is understood, then what you need is a commitment so that that knowledge can translate into action steps through commitment, to be able to achieve the objective of your knowledge, your discovery, and knowledge, that you acquire as a result of that. There is no society that develops with illiterate populace. The more illiterate they are, the more drag you have on your path to growth and development. So it's inevitable that if this nation is going to be a great nation, it has to have an enlightened society, well-educated society, a society that works and works and works and works. Several years ago, I had a trip to Singapore, and I took a couple of taxis, and the taxi drivers were very knowledgeable about their country. I was interested in their level of education, and I discovered that most of the taxi drivers had secondary school education. But even at that level, they were promoting their country. Have you seen this? Have you been to this place? I could come and pick you from your hotel and take you there. They knew about the challenges their country were facing. For example, high taxes. That's one of them. But you will be amazed at the way they would defend the high taxes. Said, well, the taxes are much, but we can see the influence, we can see the impact of our Singaporean dollars in terms of, and I was so amazed at this. And I said, so these were not graduates? But it is the basic education that they had and a commitment to a nation that they love, because the quality of education at the different levels was so good. They have produced citizens who would like to defend their nation. Today, even after several years of free education, most Nigerians will still say, this is a bad country because they could not see the commitment to education the way other people have seen it because from the way it has been in other climes. Because if you have education, the budgetary allocation is going to increase. If you have education, the quality of teachers and the management of the skills of the teachers and the deliveries that they bring to the table will be there. And again, you will not allow politicians to ride roughshod on our national life when through our misplaced values, somebody who becomes counselor with little education that he has earns more than a professor and is able to build 10 houses within a space of 1 year. That's a lopsided value system. And you make those who are learning and studying so hard to feel like it doesn't worth it. What matters is money. Nothing else matters. So I've got to be rich. And that's where the mentality comes in. And that is the base in our values. Of course, the teacher follows suit. He spends 10% of the time that he ought to spend with the students, spends the remaining 90% looking for money, because he has this feeling that the money will not be enough. And the best way for him to be able to do is to have the side hustle. And the side hustle actually becomes the mainstay. So, you see, lopsided values, lack of commitment to ideals of education, and in a society that is not willing to provide a very strong basis for educational system, and we are in a quagmire.
So let's talk about the early education before we even talk about higher education, which is our focus on the program this morning. What are some of the challenges? You have highlighted some of them, but let's dig deeper now. What are some of the major challenges confronting early education in Nigeria, when you compare to what happens in other climes?
Well, I think the major thing is, there is the policy somersault in terms of what it is that we want the children to learn. We have changed our policy several times, like a driver changes his gear, and that does not help, really. And Well, while we have something that we have now which we can be proud of in terms of the curriculum, the content is good. Um, how about the drivers of this curriculum? Are they committed to it? In other climes, you will see a PhD holder insisting that he will stay with early education because that is where his interest lies, and he still gets a salary. Okay, it is because of devotion. I also, when I was in the university, the vice chancellor, a professor of economics, international professor of economics, decided to go to under level to teach economics, basic economics, because they saw that the economics would be better developed at that level if they are introduced to the rudiments of economics. So we have to give early education top priority because that is where the foundation is laid. And once the foundation is destroyed, there is nothing we can do anymore. So it has to be that that's where the action is, and we're going to do that. Of course, the family, the parents are going to have their part, the teachers will have their part, and it's going to be a symbiotic relationship that will help develop the boy and the girl child, and prepare him or her adequately for primary education, for secondary education, and then later higher education. Do we really understand how vital that early education is? If we know, we would devote more time, more money, and then aggressively pursue the policies and ensure that those policies are followed through and that they deliver on the promises that they hold.
Do you think there are some who believe that the federal government spends more on the tertiary institutions than they do on education at the primary level? We've seen many of these public primary schools that look ramshackle and run down. Do you think that we should, instead of subsidizing education at the tertiary level as it currently stands, we should invest more in making it such that education, quality education at the primary level is subsidizing in such a way that most parents would rather send their children there than they would to private schools, as is the case now with higher education? Should we change things, and should we reverse the order?
Okay. Well, I would not ask us to lower our level of investment on higher education. I would say that priority should be given to early education because those are the formative years of the child. If the child is going to be a cultist, it's not going to be a cultist, rather. That value will be instilled on him at that early stage. It's difficult to alter the trajectory of a life that has been bedeviled with wrong values at the early stage of life. It becomes very difficult. But whereas those little ones are very amenable and a lot can be done, if there is a level playing field and it's not a function of who you are, what the circumstances of your birth are, that will determine the quality of early education you will get, we will be amazed at how much that will reflect on our national life in terms of our value system and in terms of our trajectory to progress and growth as a nation. It is my opinion that we should not discriminate at the early stage, and the public schools should be very strong and capable of allowing everybody to come in, regardless of who you are, poor or rich, powerful or not so powerful, famous or infamous, whatever it is. Because these children did not beg us to come to the world. We brought them into the world. And once they are in the world, we have a responsibility to ensure that we give them the best. At that level, and when we get to the university, we may discriminate a little bit, and we might even, this may not be popular, reduce level of investment in terms of subsidizing, but in terms of infrastructures and providing adequate safeguard, for instructions and for communication of values and of the disciplines. I think we should spare nothing, to that. But I wouldn't object to fees going up a little bit in order for us to achieve that.
So let's talk about the state of higher education in Nigeria now. ASU is on strike. Last year, ASU was on strike for several months as well, maybe even running up to a year or thereabout. Now, SANU, NASU have also said, well, we are also proceeding on a strike.
That's right.
So, is there anything that works in the education system? And with each passing day, you find out that there's an announcement that the federal government is starting another university somewhere, or maybe converting a polytechnic to a university. We are building more.
College of Education.
Or College of Education somewhere. We're building more, but there seem to be challenges with the ones we have on ground.
Well, that's part of what politics does, because everybody is asking for a university to be sited in their backyard. And in order for you to get them to vote for you next time, you want to cite it, and you want to defer, to the electorates without necessarily possessing the resources that you need, nor the will to be able to manage those universities well. Only a fool will try to acquire more wives when you haven't satisfied the ones you have. When you know that your wife will be making demands, and you have not satisfied the demands of 2 wives, you want 10. So how many universities do we have now? How many are we trying to build? They can be enlarged. They can be made stronger. There is nothing wrong in having very big universities. There is nothing even wrong in having campuses of the same university. But you increase the level of infrastructure, but you are able to manage the quality that is needed in that university. But for you to have several universities when you have not taken new universities, when you are not taking care of the ones you have, to me, smacks of lack of knowledge of what a university entails. It also shows disregard for the quality of education. Well, of course, I hope you know that a lot of private universities are struggling because it has come to a stage now that most private universities just award degrees. They are really not doing well because they need a level of student population in order to be able to satisfy the yearnings and aspirations of these students. And the proprietors and the proprietresses are not willing to invest money. They went into it thinking that it was going to be a walk in the park, only to discover that if you have to have a university, the quality of investment, the rate of investment is very high. Mm-hmm. And the return of investment doesn't come until maybe after 10, 15 years. So, and because they're not ready to wait for that, so they begin to cut corners. And that has impacted negatively on the quality of education that we have.
All right, we're in conversation with engineer Abiodun Fijabi, and he's talking to us about the state of the education sector in Nigeria. You should know that ASU has been on strike since the 14th of February, and it initially started as a 1-month strike, and which ASU has extended by an additional 2 months. As though that's not enough, just this Monday, NASU and SANU also embarked on a 2-week warning strike. All three are critical stakeholders in the education sector, and none of this is new. I mean, this is the second strike that ASU will be embarking on in less than 2 years. And as a matter of fact, Since 1999, this makes it the 17th strike that ASU is embarking on. So when I say there's nothing new, there really is nothing new about this. But somehow we cannot allow ourselves to be inured to this, and that's why we're talking about it today. Also, in light of other developments, in the education sector, perhaps I should say revelations, the Punch, a CBN report actually that I found in the Punch said Nigerians spend $39.66 billion dollars on foreign education and medical tourism. And the president himself was recently quoted as blaming the crisis in Nigeria on the lack of proper education. So, undeniably, education is necessary to rescue us out of the doldrums. But how come we are not still able to, pay more than lip service to it? Because as a matter of fact, our education budget for this year is about 7.9%, which is far short of the 20% allocation recommended, entire budgetary allocation recommended by UNESCO. But there's a short audio clip I'd like you to listen to. It's a student who went viral about a month ago when the ASU strike was announced for expressing this sentiment. So listen, maybe you'll be able to relate to what she's saying. Maybe you'll be shocked. It's rather short, but just listen to what she said.
Panorama.
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 Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM.
Just hearing it right now, so I'm happy. It's good news.
Why are you happy?
Because I have things to do, I'm doing photography and I'm trying to relax because school is just taking up all my time, and obviously nobody's serious with school in this country, including the government themselves. So you just have to find something going on for yourself, something that works for you, and school is not it.
By the way, she was referring to the strike, to news of the strike. That's what she was reacting to, in case that wasn't clear. That's the context in which she was answering that question. She was saying she's happy about, hearing that the strike is happening because it means she has more time to focus on her entrepreneurial activities, and no one is serious about education in this country. You heard her. But that's just one student's reaction. It's over a month since, that strike began, and I imagine students are finding ways to occupy themselves in this time. But let's talk about this incessant strike and, the reason for it, the demands these unions are making that the federal government promises to deliver and then reneges on its promises. At the core of these demands is often funding, financing for the universities, either the infrastructure in the universities, revitalizing them, or salaries, which, lecturers say, you said, that professors are paid less than counselors, but lecturers have basically been on the same salary scale since, years ago, really, despite the fact that the quality of the standard of living has since gone up. Yeah. But We've talked about this many times in the past on Panorama, and it's either we hear that the government doesn't have enough money, and the only reason it agrees to the demands in the first place is so that the lecturers can go back to teaching, only for the federal government to not deliver, and then it's like a rinse repeat cycle. But more people are starting to talk about exploring other alternatives aside from the federal government, constantly, these unions constantly making financial demands of the federal government. And one of those is self-financing, saying that these universities should consider, running their expenditure based on the revenue they get from the students. That means they would have to increase tuition and also even doing more of research so that they can attract grants, endowments and the likes. Is this a model that we should consider exploring, or is it not suited to our unique peculiar terrain here in Nigeria?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong about that. The only thing is that it's not something you can achieve by fiat, and it will not be achieved overnight, but it is something that we can work towards as a people. We can give ourselves 10 years and 20 years plan for universities to be self-sufficient and to be able to run themselves. So that means we want to put in the basic infrastructures there to make this possible, allow the relationship between the town and gown that is the university and the society that makes use of their research to be able to improve that relationship, improve that communication, so that, and of course, increase the level of industrialization. Because these guys that you say should look for opportunities outside, it must be that there are industries that will be able to take care of their research and then be able to utilize their research findings to be able to exploit those findings to move the nation forward through their, giving them economic advantage. If they are not receiving any economic advantage from that, they will see it as money down the drains, sponsoring any research. So what benefits are they receiving from it? And look at the young lady. She said, school is not it. Education is not it. I find it difficult to disagree with her. But this has been on for a long time, and this is kind of thinking that changed the quality of education in other climes. Because you wonder what school is. Somebody actually said, when you want to destroy a life, send him to school. A person, send him to school. Because you have the body of knowledge which you must cram, understand, and you have no right to differ. As it's poured to you, you pour it back. It is assumed that you are an empty brain with no prior knowledge, and then knowledge is poured into that empty brain and sealed. And you are supposed to walk within that knowledge like you are in a box, and you should not veer from it. I've had lecturers of mine tell me, as I've given it to you, give it back to me. If you show that you know better, you're going to repeat this class. With that kind of attitude to learning, education is not it. Real education opens the mind up. Opens the mind up. And that's the shock that an average Nigerian gets when he gets to other climes. And then you discover that education is not just forcing you to read. It is understanding the principles. And then there is the liberty for you to make choices. And then you can study your photography on the side because you have more time in your hands. All right, they give you multiple choice questions, not because they want you to just pass. They don't want to, because they want you to be able to think and reason. Your professor asks you, instead of writing exams all the time, he said, it is going to be term paper. And he wants you to write a paper, and he said the paper is going to be 60%, and the exam that everybody is sweating about will be about 40, 30%. And then that frees you up in your able to think creatively, be able to come up with ideas that are authentically yours. And these will influence what you would do. This is the major thing for Nigerians. But you know, Nigerians are smart. Once they get into a system like this, and in 3, 4, 5 months, they quickly adapt. And because they had already learned here how to cram, how to memorize, and how to, how to study hard. And that's why you see a lot of them excelling. But they can't come back to the system and still survive the way they are surviving in those climes. So what kind of education is it? Is it the education that kills the initiatives, that frustrates adventurism, that makes you feel you are boxed and that you have no choice in the matter? I must tell you that an average student here will not find it easy. You come to the classroom and the classroom is dirty, and they ask you, go and look for something to dust the chairs and the tables, and you have to do that. You are allergic to dust. You have to cope with it. There is nothing exciting about it. We had better days when I was in school, so I pity the current set of students. I mean, my beds were made for me when I was in the university. I mean, they put the bed sheets and everything there. We made the bed sheets, and they will remove them and then go and dry clean them and return them to us. Now that all that is gone, I'm not asking us to return to that. At least we can have the basic infrastructures that will make somebody want to go to class. Okay, I like to go to class because there is this, reflective signs telling me where the classrooms are. I'm new in school, and I get to the classroom, and there is this interactive board, which I can identify with. And the lecturer comes in not like a disembodied spirit, and feeling that is the best thing that has happened to the world. It throws out the question, and he sits down, and he watches us as we discuss it. And then he goes back to tell us, this is what somebody else has said. Lola, what do you say to it? This is what one expert said. Hey, guys, don't think about the expert. I want to learn from your experience. So, Alani, what do you think about it? This, to me, is learning. And how can we bring that to bear, on our national life so that education can become an exciting thing? School can become a place you want to go. As at now, school kills initiatives. And a girl like that would rather go and do photography than cram Schrodinger equations, differential equation of order 4, or just find out one principle that has no relevance at all. Let me give you this story. I studied physics in my first degree at the University of Ife, one of the best universities in our country. But there were some equipments that I never saw. But I knew them like the back of my hand because I had read all the features. I could even draw them because I've seen them in pictures. My wife and I just went on holiday to Canada, and then we wanted to set up a secondary school in Nigeria, and we decided to go through and look at some secondary school. And then I saw these equipments that I only saw
in pictures
in secondary school. That is value placed on education.
All right. I think we should get to the phone lines now and get our people to be a part of this conversation. Education is one that concerns every one of us, and we'll continue to clamor for government at all levels, state governments to take care of secondary schools, primary schools, and of course federal governments to also devote more as regards budgetary allocation to education. 0704 400 1067. 0817 444 1067, 070 50 50 1067, and of course on WhatsApp is 0817 555 1067.
Hello, good morning.
Alaji, you need to go out my net.
All right, Alaji, go ahead.
I'm going to come back in Nodomuri. Thanks for your two. Kudos to you, your station, and your guests. On the issue of this education we are having, we have a problem in this, the political problem in this education system, is that to face the reality, in other words, where the education is growing faster and everybody is enjoying it, like America. And I want to let you know that American government doesn't have any university. Only the states and the groups and the religions have the university. What they did is this. They have a loan where anybody that want to go there, you go and have the loan. Government cannot carry everything. You go and acquire the loan, you educate yourself. By the time you get the job, you continue to pay back. Then live your life. If you are willing, you have the political mandate to do such step. Because now, let the government will want to say, okay, this is your budget, university, I can take only 20% of it. Okay, the students want to come in, go and have the social loan to do it, and everything will continue to come. But they say they want to be the master of all. We will continue to waste the time. So that is the issue.
Right.
Let you have the political will to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Alhaji, for your contribution. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Afolabi is calling.
Okay, Afolabi, go ahead, please.
Yes, to me, some of the problems the education system in Nigeria can be attached to politics. So, look at our politics. It has decided every other aspect of our life in this country. And that's why education is now made a political issue. That's why you see them talking about increasing the number of universities in Nigeria, why the ones that we have on ground are not efficiently working. Now, and if we look at the rate of corruption again, it is another thing. Because funds that are channeled towards certain aspects of the educational system are embezzled. If you can recollect, there is this one-time NDC registrar. So look at the state. So these are the issues we are facing. It is until we take care of this issue of corruption and we remove politics from all aspects of our life, except for governance, we can't get anywhere. There's no way we can get anywhere. Because these people are bent on doing things that will favor them, that will promote their political ambitions. And it is a problem for us.
Right. Thank you, Afolabi, for your contribution. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Nicholas. Nicholas from the Rock City of Abeokuta.
All right, Nicholas from the Rock City of Abeokuta. Go ahead, please.
Good morning.
Good morning, Nicholas.
Yeah, God bless you. I love when Nigerians speak with authority on social sciences. You will agree with me, Engineer Fijabi, that from the Icelands of Siberia to the liberal Ivy schools of Harvard and Princeton and to the conservative Harlow chambers of Oxford, Nigerians have left Nigeria pre-independence and post-Goodluck Jonathan's PVP and shattered the cumulative CGPAs of those schools, either from the rickety schools in Memo for our secondary school leavers, or from the poor hostels, security, courtism, and the beans that some of us managed to eat in our hostels as undergraduates when we went from our postgraduate studies in these schools. Why? Because whether you use Nekon and Packer or PN action and reaction are always equal and opposite. These are constants and universal standards in science. They may change in politics. But it is not accidental that Adamu worked out on the last president. When the people are uneducated, it is easier for them to be enslaved. So it is easier for the elites and their kids to go to Harvard and come back and occupy CBS and AFCC. But these politicians, they need touts to snatch their ballot boxes. When they go for conventions, they need vulnerable women to pass the night with. But education is a companion which no misfortune can depress, no crime can destroy, and no despotism can enslave. Serious countries don't joke with the budgets on education, because it is on that platform that every other sector would work. The national grid would work. Our doctors and nurses want to go for interviews to Saudi. And our footballers would even win matches, because our stadiums will really host sporting events. But they know this, and that's why they don't do the right thing. And it's unfortunate that some of us, when you give ritualists licenses to own universities, what do you expect?
Right.
Thanks, Lola. Right.
Well, you know, my right is like a subtle warning that you should wrap up your thoughts.
All right.
I'm glad you caught that.
On Twitter, Edward Bayomi has a question for you. He said, ASU and NASU will get paid while doing nothing, no matter how long the strike lasts. The students offer while the federal government pays for a job not done. What's your guest opinion on the activation of no work, no pay policy? How else do we go past this impasse?
Yes, I think ASU has been outsmarted the government in that area in negotiation, because everything is about negotiation. They'd already looked at the government in the eyes and have told them, okay, all right, you won't pay us, then we will assume that the semester is gone and we're starting on a new semester entirely, because we can't go back to those lectures that they have missed. So we just take off from where we left it. Would that be okay? And the government would rather prefer that, okay, that they collapse a semester, a 5-month semester into 2 months rather than extend. Okay? So, okay, you can rush them within those 2 months and still allow them, let my people go. Of course, that affects the quality that comes out of that school. So, but it still helps the government to be able to reduce the number of, reducing huge number of people into the labor market at the same time. So that ASU and the other unions were able to negotiate with the government. So you can't go back to no pay, no rule because that agreement has been reached, and only industrial court might be able to undo that. So.
All right, let's go back to the telephone lines. 0704 400 1067. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. What's your name?
From Agbon.
All right, go ahead.
Yes, thank you to our discussants this morning. Please, I would like to ask, because this country is just a very special country, sincerely. The school feeding program, in 2021, that was last year, 5.6% was allocated was the budget for education in Nigeria. That's 742.5 billion naira. Then for 2022, which is this year, 7.9%. That's 1.29 trillion naira. Now the school feeding program takes 360 billion naira per year. I'm not saying that is being drawn from the education budget, but 360 billion naira per year, around that rate, was being expended on the school feeding program. And now the school feeding program is not even for the primary education completely. It is just for a specific class, children within a certain age. Now, my question now is, what do you think of this? Does it make any sense or not? That's about 27% of the allocation for the education sector. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Please hold your question. Engineer Fijabi will respond to it. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Flash FM, Panorama. This is Dr. Lobo.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Lobo is calling from Abeokuta. Yes. Engineer Fijabi, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Olofin.
Ologbon, Dr. Lobo.
Oh, Dr. Logbon, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There is no doubt the curriculum in higher institutions today, especially the university, has to be on to drive a lot of entrepreneurship, because we cannot continue to do the same thing the same way, do it in the same way, and we expect different results. Yeah, we need to catch up with events and development in developed nations, and innovations have to come up from students, and so that the economy will be improved upon. But I will say that cannot be achieved under the present scenario where government and other stakeholders are not showing adequate commitment to education and development. You can see some of the things that unions are fighting for today, revitalization, being development, fund universities, but how much of this are we seeing? Compare the budget allocation in Nigeria today with the standards recommended by UNESCO. What do we have? Of recent, the National Assembly, about a week ago, thereabout, 186 new universities, they began to deliberate upon. So come on board. What has happened to the numbers that we have that have not been successful, that have not been attended to? That is the problem. So we see that our people, especially the government that we have nowadays, they are paying this habit. Yet, many of them do not have children in this university, so they are not stakeholder as it were. You know, that they go everywhere, they go outside the nation and they see this thing, and they are not willing, they don't have the political power to come back to the nation and develop what they have seen over there. So that is the problem. I just pray that we'll be able to reverse the wheel sometime
out of this mess. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your contribution. All right, let me let Engineer Fijabi react to that as well as Tajuddin's question before we take any more calls.
Okay. My opinion about the free meal program is that politics is coming to the center stage or staying in the center stage when what we need in the primary school, early education, are values. I would prefer that we have an economically buoyant nation, in which case parents are empowered to be able to provide basic amenities for their kids. They're able to buy exercise books. And even if they are not able to buy textbooks, they're able to buy exercise books. They're able to give breakfast to their children because the economy, the micro economy are suitable for that kind of development than for us to spend close to 30% of budgetary allocation on education on feeding. It doesn't make sense to me. And knowing my country, a country that I love so very much, I know that the bulk of that money will go into some individual hands and in some policymakers' hands, and ultimately the children will not get the full value for the money. A friend of mine from Malaysia was trying to describe the level of corruption in his country. He said, "ABIODUN, our country is so corrupt. We will budget $5 for a project and we will end up spending $4 because $1 has been embezzled. Only, but the way I hear about Nigeria, I think the reverse is the case. You guys, earmark $5 and $1 is spent on the project. So that is the only difference between the two of us. I said, wow, that's. I wish I could stand up to him and say, no, that's not my nation you are describing. But I've seen a lot of abandoned projects in our nation. I've seen a governor announcing that 5 million naira should be given to somebody who is going on medical trip abroad to India. And ultimately 2 million naira got to the hand of the parents of that child. Because directors and people along the line have asked for money. Can you imagine they are thriving on the misfortune and the frustrations of some people? And somebody had mentioned about corruption, deep-seated corruption. What corruption does is that the money that is supposed to be used for development is not freed up, and it ends up in people's hands. And then you have dislocation, economic dislocations. And then you have few people becoming much, much richer, and therefore using their funds to hold power and control over the rest of us. And they determine which hooligan will rule the day at any particular time.
Right.
And which kind of person will be allowed to have money and which will not be allowed to have.
Okay, well, let's see if we can take maybe one or two more calls in the time that we have before we have to go on a commercial break. 0817-444-1067, 0817-555-1067, which is also the WhatsApp number, 0705-050-1067, 0704-400-1067. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Aru. Is my name, calling from Abeokuta.
All right, make it quick. You have a minute. Go ahead, please.
Special salute to Egbondia. This is the first time we'll be having this kind of narrative that is not about blaming government. He has not done any blame game at all, and is very comprehensive. However, I seem to disagree with Egbon on one score. When you criticize the idea of federal government opening up more universities, I know that ASU itself is against it, but you are not thinking about the admission deficit on behalf of these students. Look at Oloyede of JAM. if I had him very well, close to 2 million people have already registered for JAM this year. And the carrying capacity of the universities does not factor the over or close to 1 million people, secondary school leavers, who will be left hanging. It is that I want to ask, that I think people should think more also about the students. When they open up the space, it allows for more admission. I want to stop there. Thank you.
Thank you for stopping there. Thank you for your
Can I respond to that quickly? Or somebody wants to say something?
Okay, maybe in 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds. Ayo, dear. Good. You know that to lead a university, you need a crop of people who are dedicated, well experienced, well educated, well grounded. It's not a walk in the park to lead a university. How about expounding the current university? Each of them. And then you still have the leadership structure that is helping there. But when you have to go and create over 180 structures, wow, that files in the face of normalcy to me. Okay. And that's the issue. I'm not asking us not to reduce the number of intake into the universities, but I'm asking that many, many more universities will not help us.
All right, we'll have to leave it on that note. Thank you very much, Engineer Abiodun Fijabi, for being our guest this morning.
My pleasure.
We'll be back to take your comments. Sheson Ezekiah, Queen Daniels, Edward Bayemi, I believe we've taken yours, and any comments we have on WhatsApp after this commercial break. Please stay with us.
Panorama.
Panorama. Panorama.
Panorama.
Panorama.
Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM.
We educate. That's why we are respected. We inform. That's why we are loved. More music. We are the best. The Integrity Station. Splash.
106.7.
Bí a bá ń fọgbọ́n ṣe dandan ká gbé ìgbésẹ̀ pẹ̀lú rẹ̀. Ìgbésẹ̀ ọ̀hún rèé tí iléeṣẹ́ àgbàjọ Homes and Property ní ká gbé gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọlọ́gbọ́n torí pé a ò gbọ́dọ̀ sí kọ́kọ́rọ́ kù. Ọ̀yá Dam Pressure Estate 200,000 ní tẹ́lẹ̀ báyìí 100,000 lẹ́sàn. Gúúsì Estate Òṣìẹ̀lẹ̀ àti Randa High Level Phase 2. Kọ́bapẹ́ àti Ṣódẹ̀kẹ́ tuntun Phase 2 600,000 ní tẹ́lẹ̀ báyìí 300,000 lẹ́sàn. Ilẹ̀ ń bẹ ní Ìdíòrì Blessed City Garden 2.4 million naira ní tẹ́lẹ̀ báyìí 1.2 million lẹ́sàn. Onígangan 1 million naira ní lọ́lọ́ báyìí 500,000 ní gbẹ́tàn rẹ̀. Ilẹ̀ oko mo lọ́gẹ̀dẹ̀ orílẹ̀ lógún ọlọ́run dá 25,000 ní plọ̀tì báyìí. Ilẹ̀ àgbẹ̀ Kọ́bapẹ́ alábàtà ọ̀pẹ́jì 30,000 per plot. Bẹ́ẹ̀ bára plọ̀tì mẹ́ta ìdajì lẹ́gbàsí. Ó sì jẹ́ éèkà lẹ́ra ẹ̀ ó gbòdìdì kan sí. 39 NT Road Ọ̀gbẹ̀ Abeokuta 07044648338 07044648338. Gbé ìgbésẹ̀ lónìí a ò ní ti kọ́kọ́rọ́ kù. Ọjọ́ 21 oṣù tá a wà yìí láǹfààní yóò pin.
Honey, must you go?
Babe, you know I must. Besides, you can always video call me.
Hey, what if your battery runs out?
I've got my power bank.
Hey, and when your power bank runs out?
Babe, I've got my laptop.
Okay, wait. What if your data runs out?
Babe, you know we never run out of data.
Never run out of data with Airtel Home Broadband Unlimited Ultra plans. Enjoy unlimited data with no speed cap plus extra data daily, so you never have to worry about running out. Visit www.airtel.com.ng/HBB to get started.
Babe, but I just left the house.
Yes, honey. It's video calling all the way.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
ẹmu tó ṣẹlẹ̀ a lọ wá akọ màálù àbíwó gàgàrà méjì epo pupa adìẹ ìbílẹ̀ ẹja ọsàn àti epo bẹntiró 50 litres a ó wá ṣàwọn ètò yẹn a ó máa wá wípé tẹ́lẹ̀lẹ̀ awọ àfihàn kú fọyangí adíá fún apò ògbẹ́.
ó tó. ṣètòrí omi borehole náà ni gbogbo kátikàti yìí baba landlord má jẹ́ kó lọ ní jìbìtì pé akọ́ṣẹ́mọṣẹ́ tó dáńtọ́ ìyẹn Onyx Geoservices with advanced technology and precision geophysical equipment. Onyx Geoservices àbá yín gbẹ́ borehole tó ń sun omi gidi. ní báyìí ẹ̀dínwó tí ò lẹ́gbẹ́ wà lórí geosurvey àti borehole gbígbẹ́ up to 50% discount on drilling and geophysical survey. Onyx Geo Services ò lẹ́lẹ́gbẹ́. Ẹ kàn sí wa lónìí ládojúkọ mobile filling station Oníkólóbó Abeokuta 0806-890-5083 0806-890-5083 tàbí 0806-234-1993 0806-234-1993. Promo run till end of March 2022. Onyx Geo Services. Water is life.
Hello, Chooks. Because we have a new laptop, 2 boxes, rechargeable fan, 3.
Your call credit has been exhausted.
Yeah, Ebuka, because load 1,000 naira Airtel for this phone now. Ebuka, I send you 1,000 naira. You go load 8,000 naira. Be this boy in Apuara there.
Oga, no. As they make plenty call. Now why use Ovajara load the card?
Bam! Get 8 times your recharge plus double data on Ovajara. You also get 1,000 naira bonus on every new SIM activation. Dial *544# from an existing SIM to obtain.
Oh yeah, go buy food for Mama Cheap Place. Make she add Ovajara.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
àṣeyọrí gan làgbà iṣẹ́ gbogbo aláṣeyọrí ayọ̀ aláṣeyọrí class home and property limited lónìí ọ̀pọ̀ ilẹ̀ wọn ti di wàmútìrẹ́ báyìí lórí owó tí gò ga ju ara lọ randa extension hilltop máwùkọ́ àti kọbapẹ́ 100,000 ní plọ̀tì yìí bẹ́ẹ̀ sì ni lóko wọn ti di ọ̀pọ̀ yùkẹ́ mo lọ́kẹ̀dẹ̀ 25,000 ní plọ̀tì kan bẹ̀ kọbapẹ́ alábàtà òṣèlè 30,000. wà ní tẹ́jẹ̀ lórí ilé oko wọn torí pé àwọn onírà àti onímọ̀ ìjìnlẹ̀ ti wà níkàlẹ̀ láti là ń lọ́yẹ̀ lórí nǹkan tẹ́ gbìn sí ilé oko tẹ́ bára 4 mọ̀túndì abiolawe ilégoro daily express furniture ni wọ́n wà ọlọ́ṣogbo abẹ́òkúta Ògùn state 08033086557 08033086557 lóòótọ́ àṣeyọrí gan làgbà iṣẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ ń bá ń bá wa ná dandan ní kẹ́ láṣeyọrí ayọ̀ lọ́dọ̀ tiwa ọjọ́ 21 oṣù tá a wà yìí láǹfààní yóò pẹ́.
Talk radio. I listen to a lot of talk radio.
I like talk radio.
Welcome to your number 1 talk radio station.
Fasten your seatbelts.
This is your favorite station.
Splash FM 106.7.
Panorama.
Panorama. Panorama.
Panorama.
Panorama.
Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM.
We're back on the Integrity Station. The dial is 106.7 Splash FM. We promote the right values. And this is Panorama. If you missed the first half, well, what can I say? You get to listen again tomorrow where we'll have a fresh issue of the day that will spotlight. But let's go ahead with newspaper review, which is next on our list. Before that, though, your comments on social media on our issue of the day. On Facebook, I have Sheson Hezekiah who says, politicization is the main problem with Nigeria's education. How could ordinary Nigerians in higher institutions with technological creativities surface without the encomium of the government? Then these creatives will be moribund and bored. Then these creativities will be moribund and there will be boredom for these creative individuals, he says. Over to Twitter now.
All right, on Twitter, we've taken Edward Biomi's comments already. So I'll just touch on Ofemi, I believe. Our society has lost the right values that promotes the workability of formal education in this country. A hugely illiterate populace with uncultured orientation will constantly render formal knowledge acquired useless. The change starts with the society. He continued by saying the curriculum for early education in this country needs to be overhauled to accommodate current realities and basic things an average primary and secondary students needs to know. What we have currently is nothing to build on. What happened to previous money released to better tertiary institutions by the government? Nothing is coming out of research institutes. All what we see within the tertiary environment are beakers. They hardly have time for students, but spend more time on personal stuff. I'm sure.
And this is even as their salary scale has not been reviewed in years.
Yes, but on Facebook as well, Kojo Asempa, Furniture Works, is here again. He's an avid follower of this station from Ghana. And he's saying today is today. Ghana Black Stars will shine today from Kojo Asempa from Adum Kumasi in Ghana. Well, whatever shine you want to shine, I can assure you that
will shine brighter.
Will shine brighter.
And
Will outshine you.
Please tell your Ghanaian actor that he should get ready to make that trek that he said from his country to ours, because we are winning this game.
Definitely. The Super Eagles play at 6 p.m. today. I'm sure you will want to see that game. It's in Abuja, and that stadium is coming alive again after a very long period, especially for the Super Eagles. Santere and Akinlola see me on Facebook as well. It's just saying good morning and well done. Thank you very much. I have the Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
I have Vanguard newspaper. The big story from Vanguard. Hoodlums attack Imo police station with petrol bombs, injure police officers, open fire on passengers in Enugu, kill 2. Police recover 3 undetonated explosives as Southeast shuts down. Anambra workers, intercity transporters remain adamant, defy Soludo's orders. That's the marching order to work on Mondays against the, stay-at-home policy. Traders shun markets. Soludo visits offices within government house as work resumes, meets with market women. Court orders transfer of Abakari and 6 others to prison custody. Convention, federal government attacks PDP, alleges destabilization bid. Cultists kill 8 persons in Ogun. Bandits attack Kaduna village, kill 15. The suspect said we've kidnapped children from Lagos to Ibadan for rituals. Olowu stool. Family threatens legal action against Obasanjo and kingmakers. On ASU strike, NANS begins its daily protests in Abuja. And part of the reason we looked at the education sector is because oftentimes because it's not new, it sort of fades into the background, especially if you are not a student. You're fortunate to have passed that stage or you're not yet there. But, 17 strikes since 1999. That's worrisome. Telcos threaten telecom blackout in 9 states. Terrorists bomb Abuja Kaduna rail track, attack 970 passengers. On 2023, IEM says that the PDP will lose if zoning is not respected. Emefiele says that fighting inflation is his focus, not a rumored presidential bid. I guess this is a reaction to some of the banners of, his supposed campaign floating at the convention.
All right, let me check out the front page of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper now. Terrorists blow up Abuja to Kaduna rail track, surround train, fire shots with the rider, military to the rescue. And that's arguably the biggest story the newspapers carried this morning. Another 8 killed in Ogun court clash. We were still talking about this yesterday.
Is it another 8 or is it simply a rollover of the story?
Another 8. I think this is from Shagamu now, but we'll get to the details of that story. Ondo Amotekun rescues kidnapped prospective corps members in Kogi. Kidney failure, seek medical help if your urine is foamy. That's according to an expert. I'm sure that's a report you might want to read. It's on page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Bandits kill 15 villagers in fresh Kaduna attack. FG, PDP tear into each other again. With the riders, economic hardship, a global phenomenon. Opposition advocating Nigeria's destruction. FG downplaying economic hardship. Lai Mohammed's statement anthology of lies. That's according to the PDP. Kama, court slates June 20 for hearing in Khan suit against CAC. Election fraud, coup d'etat, political violence, bane of Africa's growth. That's according to Obasanjo. 2023, Saraki, Tambuwal, Bala form unity team, consult Otom Ishaku. NBA 4th National Assembly creation of 6 new law school campuses. With the riders, says NAS turning illegal education to constituency projects. These are the headlines on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. So let's start with that big one, rather sad representation of the challenges with security. Terrorists blow up Abuja Kaduna rail track, surround train, fire shots. Terrorists on Monday evening successfully blew up the Abuja to Kaduna rail track, a development that forced a train conveying about 970 passengers to stop. Upon the stoppage of the train, the assailants were said to have begun to fire gunshots sporadically. It was further gathered that the terrorists later forced their way into the train and kidnapped an unspecified number of people, with some others feared killed. The incident, it was gathered, occurred at a point between Katari and Regina. One of the passengers confirmed the incident in a telephone call, adding that the attackers surrounded the train and shot sporadically. When the Nigerian Tribune put a call through to the managing director of the Nigerian Railway Corporation, Fidet Okiria, he said the corporation had heard of it and put in efforts to confirm it. But meanwhile, troops mobilized to the scene of the attacks to rescue the passengers were successful. And that's the report. And like I said, rather sad. This is not the first time.
No,
there
it's
was
the
also an
second that I
attack
recall.
recently, but it wasn't as extensive as this one. They blew up some part of the track, but this one is really brazen. It's such a brazen attack on Kaduna to Abuja.
And just yesterday, an airport in Kaduna, I believe, was also laid siege to by terrorists who grounded a plane from flying. I do wonder why, it does seem that Kaduna seems to be the focus now. And I hope that the state governments, in collaboration with the federal government, can beef up security for those either flying the air or the road or the rail in Kaduna. Because on the same page where that story is on the Vanguard, I also see 15 killed as bandits attack Kaduna. So I hope the government can do what is necessary and restore security and peace.
For a country that is just trying to ensure that our rail lines come alive again like we had in the past, this would definitely discourage many from taking advantage of the rail line.
Especially if it becomes a recurrent feature.
And many people also, the Kaduna-Abuja Expressway is very notorious for kidnapping, robbery, and all of that. So the train became a sort of reprieve for many people. Because when I was in Abuja, I know that many people would rather, go to the train station, board a train.
With the belief that it's safer.
It's safer, instead of,
going by road.
Because many people are kidnapped on that road. Many people are killed, maimed, and what have you. But the bandits are even becoming more brazen,
And ironically, the fact that, as you said, the roads have been unsafe for a while and people have resorted to the trains as an alternative. Now the trains are also under attack and the airports are under attack. So how then do people commute from one, from that state to another? If every means of travel by water, should they be looking at ships now? And are we going to continually turn, when one sector is under attack, we'll find alternatives instead of fixing the problem, so that the roads are safe, the rails are safe, and even the air is safe. But we'll leave you to mull on that while we'll move over to this story here. In Ogun State, where no fewer than 8 persons were yesterday reportedly killed in Shagamu, Ogun State. It would be recalled that about 7 persons were killed in Abeokuta in the last 1 week as members of A and IA confraternities engaged in a supremacy battle. The clash between the rival cult groups got to its peak following the gruesome murder of an area boy, popularly known as Tommy, in the Oluwo area of Abeokuta. Since the death of Tommy, residents of Abeokuta have been living under fear of possible escalation of the crisis, and as at Sunday evening, residents of Pansheke, Unikolobo, Oluwo, Adigbe fled for their dear lives as gunshots rented the air. Though the police said 18 persons have been arrested, calm seems not to have been restored as the crisis has now escalated in Shagamu Remo area of the state. As early as 7 a.m. on Sunday, some young men stormed the town, killing their targets. While a few of the victims were picked up by the police, others were said to have been taken away by their parents. And really, we've barely gotten a breather from yesterday when we were talking about this, the one that happened in Abeokuta. Now we're finding that 8 persons in one attack were killed in one day. There's nothing new, no new ground to cover when it comes to cultism in Ogun State.
It has to be said that the state government and the Nigerian police force and other security operators must do all they can to nip this in the bud. It's become a case of many people comparing one administration to another as to how an administration was able to, keep the covers on as regards these incessant attacks. I don't think any month goes by without a report of, a cultist clash or an attack, and I'm sure this is one of the reasons why the governor decided to have the OP Mesa set up. But we're seeing this. Maybe that of Abeokuta was the security agencies were able to nip it in the bud, but then it's moved to other parts of the state. So we must do more. The government must do more, and parents must continue to talk to their children, because all of these people we talk about, they are from different homes, they have families. So we need to talk to these people. It's better to be alive to, enjoy life than to get yourself involved in something that will cut your life short.
I mean, what is the government strategy, the state government strategy, beyond arresting and prosecuting these offenders at that moment? Because that doesn't seem to be working. That's what they've been doing this whole time. They arrest some, and then, I would assume that they eventually end up getting prosecuted. But isn't there more, like gathering intelligence from those arrested that one can use to flush out, the entire system? But, well, I mean, I guess the government knows the answer to that question. Let's look at another story now in detail from the papers. I'm going to head to page 8 of Vanguard, where NANS is beginning a daily protest in reaction to the strike. It says the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, yesterday started a daily protest in Abuja over the continuous shutdown of the nation's universities as a result of the strike embarked upon by members of Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. The national president of NANS, Sunday Ashefon, said students from across the country were already converging on Unity Fount in Abuja to express their displeasure with the ongoing industrial action in the university system. Yes, he says, the 2-week ultimatum we gave to them to resolve their differences and allow Nigerian students go back to their classes has elapsed and nothing has been done. Nigerian students are feeling frustrated. Lecturers are on strike. Non-academic staff have started their own warning strike too. Students who want to register are not able to do so, and so on and so forth. Well, when two elephants fight, the grass suffers. The grass in this case being the students, of course.
I would just like to take this story. Bandits didn't shut down Kaduna Airport. We killed 12 of them. Military authorities have cleared the air on the recent reported attack on the Kaduna International Airport by bandits. According to the military, the incident took place 6 kilometers away from the terminal and outside the airport's perimeter fence. The military also said they killed 12 of the bandits. This was disclosed on Sunday afternoon when Kaduna State Commissioner of Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arwan, and some military leaders led journalists on an assessment tour of the attack scene. But that's just to clarify. But another question is why it's coming days after. It's important that when a narrative is spreading, that it's quickly sorted out. But let's check out this story as well. Also security related. Ondo Amotekun rescues abducted prospective corps members in Kogi. But I would like to take this story of the federal government and the PDP, according to the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, tearing into each other. Again, page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Both the federal government and the Democratic Party, PDP, tear into each other again over the economic hardship in the country. Earlier on Monday, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, had accused the opposition of eating up the polity by instituting a court case on the legality of the national leadership of the All Progressives Congress, and also advocating a second NSAS protest over economic conditions. And the PDP on their part, according to a statement issued by Debo Ologunagba, said it said what the minister did was to spew another anthology of lies, false and bogus performance claims by the APC administration. Well, election season is well and truly upon us.
Indeed. All right, before we make a stop at the phone lines to take your calls in reaction to the stories that we're reading out to you, let me also take the security-related situation this time in the southeast, where unknown gunmen in the early hours of yesterday attacked a police station in Owerri with petrol bombs and explosive devices, causing damage to the building and injuring some police officers on duty. Also, as another set of gunmen suspected to be enforcing the sit-at-home order struck around Colliery Hospital early yesterday morning and shot dead some passengers. And it was also learned that in Enugu, the passengers left their homes early to attend to their businesses when bullets rained on the commuter bus conveying them. Still in Imo as well, commercial activities came to a halt following a full compliance with the sit-at-home order. But also in Anambra, it was said that Anambra State observed the worst Monday sit-at-home in recent times yesterday, despite an order given by the state governor, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, directing workers to be at their duty posts and for people to go about their businesses. During his inauguration on 17th March, he said he spoke about the damage done to the economy of the state by the continued sit-at-home, saying that there was millions lost as a result, urging civil servants to be at their duty posts to avoid being sanctioned. But at the secretariat in Oka, most offices were empty, and the few workers who reported for duty left for home at about 12:30. And some of those who spoke to the newspaper said that even though they wanted to obey the governor's order, they couldn't find vehicles to convey them to Oka. I mean, the governor thought it was as simple as giving an order with threat of sanction, but it looks like not even that is enough to compel some people to risk their lives. And even those who want to risk their lives cannot find buses to convey them.
All right, so let's sneak in one or two calls before we have to wrap up on the program this morning. 0704 400 1067, 070 0817 444 1067, 070 50 50 1067. On WhatsApp, I have this message here. Good morning to, okay, I've been just bringing that up. Okay. Good morning to everyone in the studio. I was able to catch up with just the last minutes of the issue of the day session this morning. But I would like to submit, in addition to Engineer Fijabi's response to ABIODUN's comments, I would like to say that university education is not for everybody. Some should go to the polytechnic, some to colleges of education, and also to other monotechnics. All these institutions should be strengthened, revitalized, and properly positioned for effectiveness. Thank you. That's from Ayodeji Famogbele from Abeokuta. Samson Yu Joseph is here as well. He said, beautiful morning, my people. I am Samson Yu Joseph. Look, all these attacks will continue until the government is ready to do the needful. Okay, let's take this call before I take the rest of that message. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Nicholas.
Yeah, this is Nicholas. Shakespeare says, when beggars die, there are no comets sing. But even the heavens blaze forth the death of princes. So I want to thank Prince Dr. ABIODUN for the heavy military presence over the death of one man in Baseke. So some of us would like to ask him about the report of the panel of inquiry over the massacres that took place last year in Yewa. There's a place called Yewa in Ogun State. They are part of the people of Ogun State. Secondly, on the issue of this Scottish killing, everybody who has grown up, everybody who lived in Abeokuta for the past 3 decades know that the area crisis is like the Israeli-Palestine crisis. In international politics, it is called intractable conflicts. On the day Bin Laden struck America, there was no security man in America or woman who was on strike. Even in healthy democracies where the economy is diversified and the judicial process is hastened, they suffer attacks. Talk more where there is no blueprint. I think we all need prayers today for our Super Eagles because victory in that match might be the only good news we might hear in the last 2 years of this bribery regime. And it's also good news for sport journalists. Soccer is not an escape. It's a part of our life. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Nicholas. Let me take the rest of that message. Look, all these attacks will continue until the government is ready to do the needful. From UAE government to USA government has named funders of these atrocities, but our government are shielding them in a bid to cover the evil. Boko Haram are now tagged bandits, Kokoro Tonje for Idie for Loa, Regarding Curtis clashes in Ogun State, the body language of the government says a whole lot. Look, when these Curtis reach the body language of the government, they act based on it. I remember what Enugu State government did when courtesan was trying to dominate the state. Let me stop here. Wishing Super Eagles all the best in today's match in Uncle Nicholas's voice. Well, like he knew Nicholas was going to eventually say that.
Well, on Twitter, Ofemi says, I can't wait to see the end of this excuse-filled current federal government, especially Lai Mohammed. He's always making excuses for their failures, the worst information minister so far. You know I can't say what you wrote, right? But thank you, everyone, for your contribution. We apologize that Tuesdays are kind of rushed these days, but you know what? Next Tuesday would allow more calls. But join us tomorrow again on Panorama. My name is Lola Meduteni.
Emmanuel Balogun trying to speak on Twitter Space, but we're out of time. But we appreciate you for joining us. My name is Boyega Olani. I'll see you again next week, God's willing, on another Monday, Tuesday on Panorama. I'll be here again. Enjoy the rest of the week.